What's going on, everyone? Welcome once again to the Bass Kayak and Beers podcast on the Paddle and Fin Network. As always, it's your boy Armando with another great episode we got for you today. Dan Perry is joining me. I'm super excited to always talk to Dan Perry when I have him on the show. However, the two guests that I had lined up this week have kind of canceled on me. Well, not canceled. We had to reschedule because unforeseen circumstances. So Dan Perry was nice enough to join me for today. So we're going to have him come up in a few minutes. But small intro before I start the show. Once again, thank you for Douglas Rod. Go check out douglasoutdoors.com. Sponsor of my show. Go check out the X Matrix and the LRS rods. And if you like fly fishing, go check out their fly fishing rod. There's Guy G. I think it's an award-winning rod. So awesome rods, sponsor of my show. So huge shout out to them. Now that we've gone through that, let's see. What can I talk to you about before I bring that in? As you know, I got second place on the Slay Nation in Lake Fork. Not bragging about it. It was only second place. But I did get a chance to be on the Dark Waters Kayak Fishing with Josh Smith. So if you haven't listened to that episode, I think it's episode 198. The one that has my name on it, Armando Sola, and my ugly face in the thumbnail. So go check it out. Go support Josh Smith, Dark Waters Kayak Fishing Podcast. Great podcast. Huge influence on my personal podcast. So other than that, got to do a little pre-fishing for the next Slay Nation tournament, which is at Lake Granbury, which is a lake that I hate. I've been there 4 times. Today was the first time I even caught a fish there. So, and it was only one fish in 5 hours. So, but anyways, that's one of the things when we talk about becoming a better angler. Like I thought about why am I going to enter into this trail? Because this lake is no good for me. But at the same time, if I want to be a better angler, whether it's competitive or just be a better fisherman, just for my own enjoyment, I got to learn how to fish bodies of water that I'm not comfortable with. So I figured I entered, I'm not super confident going into this trail, but I figured, you know what? I can't become better if I'm only cherry picking the lakes that I feel that I'm confident or good at. I have to get out of my comfort zone. So, and that's what I want to encourage anybody out there, whether you're doing it just to be a better angler for yourself, to enjoy catching more fish on the water, or whether you're getting into tournament fishing, step outside your comfort zone. Go for those lakes bodies of water that are a struggle, especially when there's tournaments out there. Obviously there's some tournament fees that you have to take in consideration, but when there's a small club, the entry fees is not that much, then go ahead, challenge yourself. You might surprise yourself. Anyways, that's what I got for you today. Dan Perry's about to join me. Before we do that, we're going to go into brief commercial from Waypoints, and then Dan Perry's going to join us. So thank you for listening. Enjoy the show.
Welcome back to the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network. We're brought to you by Yak Gadget. For all your fine kayak fishing accessories, go to yakgadget.com. Pelican cases, coolers, and lighting. Go to pelican.com. And the 153 Bait Company. For all your hard and soft bait needs, go to the 153anglers.com. Now let's get this show started.
Dan the Man Perry, buddy, how are you?
Good, man. What's going on? How you doing, Armando? Congrats
Pretty
on
good.
The tournament, by the way.
Second place. I lost to the Possum King.
Second is awesome, man. Don't be
It's
sad.
pretty good.
Don't put second place down.
Well, I don't want to sound like I'm gloating on look at this guy gloating on his podcast. He got second place. Only second place. But I mean, I'm proud of it. Don't get me wrong. I'm super proud of it. The only thing in hindsight is I was so happy that I got my 5th fish because it was a tough day. That I left the foot out of the pedal. I should have kept grinding it out and trying to call that smaller fish, and that maybe would have gotten me the win. But man, it was such a sense of relief when I caught that last fish. That was I kept fishing. I just wasn't as aggressive as I should have stayed. So that's lesson, mental check for the next one. Probably a good episode for our new segment on Paddle and Fin with Chris. I can never pronounce his last name. Chris, if you're listening, I apologize. What's his last name?
You got me
I
out.
Chris, we do apologize.
Yeah.
Every other Sunday. Saturday or Sundays his show? Sundays, right? Saturday?
I think it's Saturday. Him and the other Brads. I think they flip flop on Saturdays.
Okay.
I always listen during a week, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's the same thing we.
Yeah, so I don't know exactly what day they come on. I think it's Saturday they flip flop.
Yeah, so go listen to him. The Mindset, I think is the name of his segment.
Yeah.
So that's a good subject, Chris. You can have that subject.
Yeah, we need to talk about this Granbury, man. We can sit here and look at the map and try to figure this out together.
Well, it's 2 weeks away. I don't want anybody. My listeners are from Slay Nation.
I hear you.
But yeah, we can look at the map. We can figure it out if you want. Other than that, before I forgot, I was going to mention it on the intro. Congratulations to the winners for the Hobie BOS at Mississippi River up in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Matthew Brannon got first place. Russ Snyder, big surprise, second place. Jay Wallen, who's on a hot streak. Talk about momentum. If you don't believe in momentum in fishing, check out what Jay Wallen is doing lately. Eric Flesher and Texas boy Guillermo Gonzalez making Texas proud. Got number 5th. Huge shout out to Catherine Fields too, man. I wanted to give a shout out to her because this is the second time I've noticed that she doesn't have a great first day, but she makes huge moves on the second day, and then she wins they give her a Dakota Lithium power move.
Mm-hmm.
This is the second time I've seen her done that. I don't know how many people have done it twice. But what I do want to give a shout out to is that speaks to her character, man.
Yep.
Her never give up. That I love that she's won that kind of award, so to speak, that power move award twice now, because it just personifies her as a kayak angler, as a person. She's just stubborn mule. She won't give up. And that's great. I say that in the most complimentary way I can say it. So shout out to Catherine Fields.
Yeah, she's nothing if not determined, and she's going to go out there and do the best, give it everything she has every time she goes out, and she's getting better. It's so fun, and so like everybody's rooting her on because she puts it all out there and she tries so hard, and good for her.
It is amazing what she's done. What else can you say about Catherine?
Yeah. So
congratulations to her and everybody that took, that catch a shack at the Hobie BOS in Susquehanna in Wisconsin, Mississippi River.
Yep.
So what do you want to talk about, Dan? What can we talk about? Let's talk about KFL. I know you guys are going against one of the teams here from Texas, the Bandits? Texas Bandits?
Not yet. This weekend we made it to the playoffs in the South Division. We were undefeated. Our guys went down to Florida, had a great tournament, but got beat by them. Going down to Central Florida and getting beat by the home team. That was the one on the schedule that was always going to be the most difficult. So it's definitely understandable. The guys did good, but they didn't get the win. And then last weekend we were supposed to go to Indianapolis, which was one of the guys, whenever they came down here from Indy, got COVID.
Yeah.
So that game got postponed, and because it did get postponed, and we were the only game playing that was supposed to play that last weekend, it put us in, whenever we lost in Florida, it put us in the second place. And no matter what happened, whenever we went to Indy, it was win or lose, we were going to be in second place. So we already had second place, so we decided that even though we had already paid for the place, it just wasn't worth going up. We're all people who work, so it wasn't worth burning the vacation time and burning the the time and the money and the effort, being away from families to go fish something that just didn't matter on a non-bucket list kind of lake. Nothing against Lake Manitou, and it looked like a lot of fun, and there was plenty of fish, but it just really, it didn't make any sense for us to go fishing. Okay. And I hate to say that, we were all disappointed, and nobody wants to be the team that doesn't go fish, But
let me ask you this. Go ahead.
It didn't make a difference. So
let me ask you this, because that brings up a good point, and not criticizing KFL. We understand whatever KFL is now, if it's going to move to the next stage in becoming bigger, things have to change. Every single sports organization, especially something that's kind of groundbreaking, because we haven't seen really like a season and playoff in kayak fishing, much less in team as a team sport. So not criticizing KFL at all. What Greg Nosar is doing, I think is awesome, and we're supporting him. However, it stands to reason that if it's going to move into more popular grounds, there's going to be an evolution on the sport. Now that you mentioned that, seems like there's kind of like something that could be fixed there with the scheduling. Where is it, to avoid it, where you have to go to fish a place where it's like, well, the winner is already determined as far as who makes it to the playoff. What are we playing for? And again, that's every sport. Every sport. Yeah. At the end of the season, at some point, with soccer, football, there's meaningless games that you just have to comply with. Yeah. But what do you feel needs to be changed, or could be a good suggestion for KFL moving forward?
And if this week hadn't gotten postponed because of COVID, we would have went up to Indy, and let's say we would have won that. I mean, win or lose, and then we went to Florida and then lost. Like what happened? We'd still be in the same place. So it wasn't whether the game was before or after. It really didn't, We'd already cemented, like this week.
Your spot, yeah.
Tar Heel Lunkers who are third. So there's 3 teams from the north, 3 teams from the south. So whoever at home playoffs, they call it the wild card weekend. 2 teams play each other, second and third from each division, north and south. There was 17 teams. 6 make it to playoffs. So Tar Heel Lunkers are coming to us, and they're going to fish here, and the winner of that goes to Texas next weekend. So it's no matter what. Nothing in this case. There are some things with KFL that I think in the second year are going to evolve and change because, like Bass, they need to make some changes, and I'm sure KFL is going to make some changes too. But I think in this case, it wasn't necessarily anything that could have been done or anything that needed to be changed. It's just the way it rolled that we did so well during the season that the third place team wasn't that close to us. It was always us and the Bandits, and because we lost in Florida, they have home field advantage for the last week of the playoffs at Lake Fairfield, which is going to be difficult. So.
Yeah, Lake Fairfield, and who's on the other team? I know one of my future guests, is on the other team. It's Bandits, I think it is.
Yeah, Bandits.
Derek Miller's on that team as well, right? Yeah, sure. Derek Miller in Fairfield is a hard out. I'll tell you that much. Yeah, they should rename that Lake Derek Miller's Lake. I've heard.
I look forward to the challenge.
Yeah, I know it is. I think out of all the teams that really have a home court advantage, I think Florida, just because it is so geographically different from a lot of other places. Like I've heard, like Central Florida lakes are like the deepest you'll see a lake is 6, 8, 10 feet deep. A lot of grass. It's very kind of like unique. I mean, all places are unique. But Florida really seems to be something like different. And, you see guys over there like Benetti and forgot his name. I apologize. What's the other guy from Texas? From Florida is always putting big numbers. Anyways, I forgot.
Bobby Moynihan. Not Moynihan.
Bobby Morin too. Yeah, Big Gun Morin too. So yes.
You say that, but the Alabama Hammers did have the highest win-loss ratio out of any other team, including Texas, and we only fished 5 games. So whether it was on the road or at home, we won by more than any other team.
Oh no, and I'm not saying they're better. Yeah.
So
I'm just saying
so home field advantage for us has been. I would say Florida is the toughest to go. Nobody beat us at home either. So.
Yeah, I mean, home court advantage is home court advantage. I just feel like Florida really has, just because it's really different. It's kind of geographically different from everything else. Yeah. Just Everglades and stuff like that. And do they do tidal lakes over there? So yeah, that's a huge difference.
Yeah,
kind of like California.
Yeah, well, Washington Warhawks, they played on the Potomac, so that was Tidal. I think maybe a couple other events were played on Tidal Fisheries too.
Yeah, that's really different game right there.
Yeah,
So
although there are some things that need to be, just evolved into year two. I would just say that the KFL for me, it's so crazy that people are either for some. It seems like in kayak fishing, and it's so sad. Like everybody wants to be in a group, and this goes along with everything that we see online, everything.
There we're going.
And you can extrapolate this out to everything. You don't, even if you're not in another group, you don't have to shit on the other group.
Yeah,
it's okay not to do that. Like the KFL might not be for you, and it's not for everybody. That's fine. But I can say for this year, I've learned from Coley McGowan, Lance Coley, Tim Perkins, John Lessman, my boy Chuck Wise, Jeremy Baker, everybody I've fished on the team. They all have their strengths, and I have learned so much. Whenever you're in an environment where people are giving you everything because they want you to do well, they're giving you everything down to the detail of what they're doing, why they're doing it. And whenever you're actually talking to somebody and not just your buddy who's fishing against you in the same tournament, and you're actually hearing what they're doing and why they're doing it in the same tournament, dude, I have learned more this year than I have any other year kayak fishing and fishing in general. That's 100% real. Whether you don't want to fish KFL or not, whatever you think about it, I can say from my perspective, in the games I've fished, I have had the most fun and learned the most this year out of any other time. And that's not even, I don't even know if I'm going to fish it next year, but I can say this year has been tremendous.
So you enjoyed the KFL experience?
Yeah, I really have had a great time. I've made, staying with people, talking all the time, the group chat we have, it really has. And a lot of that's because I'm a lake angler. So our team is so diverse. We have a lot of river guys too. And man, I have learned so much about creeks and rivers, fishing with them and just moving water and things like that. Things that aren't my strength. I'm not going to say they are my strength now, but I understand why they're someone else's strength and some of the things I didn't know before, for sure.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying, and I personally, I haven't watched a lot of the KFL. I know Greg Nosar is trying to do a good job of promoting it because
he's doing everything he can.
Yeah, he does everything he can. Kind of speaking to kind of like the hatred of some of the stuff out there. I'm with you on that one. I don't get it. If you don't like it, you don't like it. It's not for you. It's not for you.
That's okay.
But let's give it a chance. Let somebody like Greg Nosar or whoever it is try to build something and see what comes out of it. Maybe it's just a fad that'll go away in a year. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's going to be the next big thing in kayak fishing. Maybe it's not going to be the next best thing in kayak fishing, but it's going to be sustainable and enjoyable for a certain group of people. Well, what's the harm in that? Just let it be. Just enjoy it. There's no need to hate on it. There's no need to, like, I've seen the posts and I've seen the comments on it. I'm like, what is it causing harm to anybody? It's not causing harm to the sport. I saw a comment once. Somebody said, well, if it's too much, if maybe it's too much for the sport. I don't think there's such a thing as too much for the sport of kayak fishing in general. Having the online tournaments, having the KBBT, having the Hobie BOS, having the Bass. I don't think it's too much because it comes to a point where you don't know what the limits of the sport and the kayak fishing community is until you've overreached. How do you know how far you can go if you don't overreach? Yeah. And we've seen it, we've seen it with KBF, where they had to like pull back some things. It's like, okay, this is as far as we can go without, kind of like putting in jeopardy the brand name. And that's fine. That's what you have to do. You have to go exceed the limits of what you can do, and so you can find out what is the limit of your capabilities. In this case, the kayak fishing community and the sport. So KFL, Me and Jimmy had an episode about it. And we were commenting after it. That was last year, and all three of us were talking about it. And it's the same thing. Me and Jimmy didn't understand the point of it. We didn't think it was great, but at the same time, hey, we'll promote it. I'll promote it on my podcast. I've had Greg Nosa here before. Just because I don't see it working out doesn't mean that I'm gonna hate it or crap on it, because it's not my place. I may not see it that way, but give it a chance. Maybe it'll evolve. And we've seen how Greg Nosa from when it started the project to what it is now, we've seen the changes, and there's nothing wrong with making changes. Like, to think that the plan A is going to be sustainable for the next 10 years is illogical. And people jump, oh, you see, they made changes, they didn't work. No, it's not that. You set up a plan, you set up a kind of like a blueprint of what you think is going to be successful, and then once you put it in practice and you see where you tweak it and where you have to do changes and evolve it from there, and that's what it is. That's my opinion about it.
I don't know how they have lofty goals. I have no idea how big it's going to get, but it's going to happen again next year. I mean, and you have some of the best anglers in the country fishing it. I mean, you really do. If you look at all the teams, there are some excellent anglers fishing, and it's live events. It's just doing it in a team format. It's okay that they're doing something else. It's all right, everybody. Yeah,
it's cool. It's fine. Let's enjoy it. Let's see what happens with it. And again, huge shout out to Greg Nosar. I mean, he's putting a lot of effort into this, and I'd rather have Greg Nosar put all his effort into trying to make an idea and think outside the box and bring it to fruition and be successful than have Bassmaster come on and kind of just kick the tires and do half-ass it. Let's be honest, and not to go down that rabbit hole, but I'd rather see that than the other, because we've had this conversation on the Paddle and Fin in the OG show and on our group chat in Paddle and Fin for the host. So I'm not gonna keep throwing jabs at Bassmaster, but the point is, if Greg Noser is trying to build it and he's putting all his effort to it, and it looks like he is from what I can see, then yeah, let's see how it goes, man. Before we bash it, let's see how great it can be. Who knows? Yeah,
it's fun. I know that.
So you plan to fish it next year, or you still have your?
Probably not, and that's not because I don't enjoy my team or I don't enjoy fishing it, because I've learned so much. I just have really limited vacation time.
Yeah.
And if I want to fish some Hobies or some bass events, I have lost like 8 vacation days on fishing KFL, and that's a lot. That's a lot of events that I could fish. So if I think about it, I probably had more fun fishing KFL than I have Hobies and bass over the last few years. Yeah. But I mean, if you want, it's tough, man. I'm with a family, limited vacation days. It's always going to be my struggle.
Yeah, that's the thing about it. At the end of the day, this is not to a point where it's paying the bills yet. So maybe at some point it will, and not just KFL, anything. Unless you're winning unless you're in the money, and when I say in the money, in the top 3 on every single event, and you're not really profiting out of this. Take consideration all the travel expenses, hotels, blah blah blah, they have to pay.
Yeah, I don't have any kind of expectations over being a pro or anything else. I feel like I've gotten better, and I just I have fun with it, and it is what it is. So if I were smart, I would probably stay with KFL and learn more and have more fun. But I just, it's hard for me personally to put that many eggs in one basket. I like the KFL, I enjoy it. I just don't know if I can commit another year to it in the situation I'm in. But again, that's in no way putting it down.
Yeah, and that's going to be one of the challenges, I think, for KFL, is trying to get people who says like, hey, man, we want you to come to the sport, because we could use the big names, kind of like gives them more credibility when you have bigger names like Russ Snyder's, Cody Mills, and stuff like that. But at the same time,
there was a Russ Snyder's and the Chad Hoover team and all these other teams playing that pulled out right at the very end. So a lot of other big names that didn't commit to it this year a lot of those names were going to have a team that we're talking about before, because there were 4 or 5. I'm not putting down any of those people, but there were 4.
No, they have the reasons, yeah.
That whenever it was time to put up the money, they decide not to do it.
And that was my point. That's going to be the challenge when you think about guys' families and jobs. It's like, well, you know, when you think about guys like, let's say, Russ Snyder, Cody Milton, Catherine Fields, Guillermo, even the new young bloods, Ewan Minor. You know, those are guys that eventually they could get sponsorship that helps them pay for the sport. But now when you say, well, now I have my family time, my vacation time, now KFL, but my sponsors would rather I fish a Hobie BOS and a Bassmaster than a KFL, then I think that's what's gonna limit KFL in that aspect. You know, it's trying to draw those big names, because at the end of the day, something has to give. You know, you're only human. None of us here are robots, and to think you can fish all of them, you know, you have to make sacrifices. And for most guys to say, well, you know, what pays off more and what's more advantageous for my quote unquote career as a kayak angler, you know, for my sponsorship, then it's going to be the big name tournaments, the Hobie BOS, Bassmaster, KBFs. So KFL kind of takes a backseat to that. And it's going to be a challenge, you know, and let's see what Greg Noser comes up with next season.
They've already, all the 17 teams that are already teams, there's already 2 more committed next year. So they've already grown. So and that's just 2. They're going to grow more next year. So it's getting bigger no matter what. No matter what names. I mean, Derek Brundle, Matthew Conant, you know, there's Derek Miller, there's all these other people that are, you know, Sticks, Colin McGowan.
Derek Miller, that's the name I was thinking about, from Florida.
Yeah, there's.
Oh no, Derek Miller is from Texas. Never mind.
Yeah, there's, you know, Mike Elsey, national champion.
Mike Elsey.
You know, there's so many people that are fishing it this year that just because you haven't tuned in, there's a lot of big names that are fishing it, or people that, you know, like Lance Coley, somebody who hasn't on my team, who he's one angler.
Lance Coley's a great angler.
Oh, he's unbelievable. He got second. Yeah. Believe me, Lance Coley is one of the best anglers in the country. So, although you might not know his name, I promise he will take your money any day of the week.
Yeah, I had him on my podcast. I think he won or came second place one of the Hobie BOS events
on a Coosa River. He's won.
Yeah.
Angler of the Year multiple times in my state for my club. The Classic Alabama Classic multiple times in my state. River Bassin Angler of the Year. River Bassin won multiple tournaments. I mean, he's as good as they get. So a lot of these names you might not know, and they thought the team environment might be fun, so they got them to come out of their state. But some of the best anglers in the country, you might not know that fish Hobie and bass and all that. They're the same names that you see all the time. Some of these other guys are as good as them, I promise.
I'd be interested to see Lance go more committed to. I mean, if this is just me personally, I don't know if he has the opportunity, his personal situation allows him to, but I'd love to see him go more into the Hobie BOS, you know, shooting for, you know, that top 50 and TOC. He's only fished the local ones, right? I don't think he's gone, you know, travel around the states.
I think he went to Texas. He went to. He's fished a couple other. This year he's fished a few. He hadn't had the finishes he wanted, but you know, he's one of those people that can win anytime. So
yeah.
But yeah, we can. That's enough about KFL. It's fun.
It's fun. We'll look forward to see what he comes up with next year. And again, we're rooting for Greg, whatever he wants to do with KFL. You know, if it helps grow the sport, then let's all be a fan of it, I guess, even if it's not at least don't bash on it. But anyways.
It's funny, like every time I say I'm in the KFL, it's like I'm now the spokesman at KFL. Hey, I've had a good time. I don't say it's right for anybody. It was fun for me this year, you know. There you go.
Are you going to be the new people's champ for KFL now?
I am my kid's champ, and that's it, man. I am nobody's champ.
You're my champ. You're the champ of Paddle and Fin.
Thanks, buddy. That's Brian.
Let's talk.
I'm not even that. That's Brian.
Let's talk about your new segment on Paddle and Fin, man. How's that going? Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, Advance Kayak Angler. We've done a couple of them. Recording the next one Wednesday night. This week it's going to be Advanced Electronics with Matt Ball, Jake Harshman, and oh Lord, I'm going to forget the third person now. Casey Reed. So it's going to be Humminbird 360, Lowrance Live Active Target, and Garmin Live Scan, whatever the hell that thing's called. I forget.
So you said Lowrance, Garmin, and Humminbirds?
Yeah, so all three of the super expensive electronics, I'm going to have them on to talk about it, just talk about industry-wide and kayak fishing, and talk about the strengths of each one, why they have each one, and how they've used it to do well. So all of them are three great anglers, and they all have a different brand. So we'll see what they say.
That's awesome. I've been meaning to get more into that. I still feel like I want to be more proficient at fishing without relying too much on my electronics before I start going down that rabbit hole of live scope and all that. And I still want to see what's the next step in that technology, because I think it's going to get even better. And I hate to be that guy that bought the latest thing, which is going to happen eventually. I mean, you blink and whatever you bought is already obsolete, pretty much. But there's always going to be something new. But I hate to be that guy that like, yeah, I got the Garmin scope and now they have something even better, like 10 times better. I'm like, crap, now I'm still back. And I just spent $2,000 and I'm still back.
More than that.
With analog technology kind of thing.
See, I really want to know, if I had to pick one, I really want to know about Humminbird 360. That's kind of the one. Go ahead. Electronics, but most of the time I just did I freeze up, or was that you? Pardon me. That's Alabama area. But but a lot of times I'll say, I have good electronics, but I don't need to know what kind of hat the fish is wearing. You know what I'm saying? Like, you only need so much good detail. I have side scan, down scan, 2D down scan, regular 2D fish finder and my graph. So I've never needed anything crazy, and I've been using that since 2012. I've been into, or 2013, I got an 1199 on my Ranger. And since then I've been into electronics, but I haven't gotten into that big stuff. But 360 is definitely the one that appeals to me the most. A lot of that's because I'm really not into. I like my kayak to be clean. I want to have it no frills, dependable. Yeah. These are the things that matter the most to me, and especially I have a family. We do well, but I don't have. If I break something, I don't want to take $1,000 out of my family budget to go put something on my kayak because I broke it. So I want things to be durable and good and not have to fiddle with it too much. And I think some of that is a little bit too much for me right now. I'd like to see the next iteration of it, whenever it gets a little more integrated into a kayak, it's a little bit easier to manipulate. So that's kind of why I've been waiting. But the 360, that one might happen. Next year I'm going to upgrade my graph. I'm going to get a Humminbird that is capable to do the 360 down the road.
You see, that's what I did with the Garmin. I had the Garmin, I think the 7-inch screen, but it's ready whenever I want to go with the live scope. But then when I was fishing at Lake Fork for the tournament, while I was, before lines in, I was just pedaling to my spot, and I see this guy on a kayak, and I thought he was on the tournament. Turns out he wasn't on the tournament. But he had this huge, TV screen, like, right in front of his kayak. I'm like, that is a big screen, buddy. So I could see it from far away. And so I was passing next to him. So I asked him, like, oh, you guys on the tournament? Because I was like, they're on the tournament, then I have to move spots. I can't fish here. But they were like, thankfully they were not. So I told them, hey, I'm on a tournament. You don't mind if I fish on the spots? And like, no, go ahead. So I saw the big screen. I had to ask him, like, I could see the 360 in the monitor, and I could see it. And I was like, I was a few yards away, and I could still see clearly what the fish were doing. That was that big of a screen. And so I had to ask him, like, is that the Humminbird 360? Because I hadn't seen him on a kayak. I've seen the Lowrance, I've seen the Garmin, but I haven't seen. So I picked his brain a little bit, and he's telling me how great it is because of the way it's set up. It's a lot easier for a kayak than using a Garmin LiveScope or Lowrance. I couldn't get into details because I needed to get to my spot. I had a tournament to fish, but it looked sweet. I'm gonna listen to that episode of you guys. When is that coming out?
I'm just they're just kind of fitting me in right now, so I don't have a slot. So, so probably sometime this week. But the other two shows have been about knots, and the last one was about finesse swim bait. So we're kind of just going super in depth with some of the best in the sport at whatever we're talking about.
So let me ask you this, because we have, for those out there, and this information is for those that are listening and fans of Paddle and Fin. We have the Bass Fishing for Noobs, and then we have yours. What's the difference? What can the audience expect to say, wait a minute, is this just a repeat? What's the difference between Bass? Not that one's better than the other. What is the concept? What's the difference in concepts between Bass Fishing for Noobs and Advance Angler?
Well, number one, I'm not covering any topic that the noob show is. Like 4 months ago, he had a show about swim baits, so it wasn't specifically about finesse swim baits. So 4 months later, I had a show on that. There's never been a show on Paddle and Fin about just knots or just the high-end advanced electronics, like a show just about that. So I'd say like the noob show is our most popular show.
The basics,
yeah. They do great. And so I would say that's usually just a little bit more general knowledge. And what I'm doing is I'm really trying to be, it's not always, did I want to have a whole show about knots? That's pretty dang boring, but I know what other kind of knots other people are doing now. And if you're hardcore into this, this is the kind of stuff that you want to know. Like, what are these real tournament anglers using, why they're using it, how they're using it. And I'm going absolutely as in-depth as I can. So although there could be a little bit of overlap on topics, I'm truly doing my best to not overlap him because we're all a team. But we are similar but different shows, and not on the same. We'll never be on the same topics.
Cool.
Yeah.
And again, Bass Fishing for Noobs, Sean, who's taking over the that podcast, does a great job.
Oh yeah, I love
Sean. Does a great job.
He has a great show.
He does have a great show, but that's cool because I think it's there's, for those that have been listening to the noobs now and then want to feel like, okay, like I want to get into kayak fishing tournaments. Now they have this episode that's going to be more targeted to the specifics in and outs of what pro. I know Brad Hurlebas and Jimmy Skinner and Brian Schiller hate when I use this term, but the PKA, don't shoot me, guys. Professional kayak anglers, we're using that term loosely. Getting into what they do to prepare for a tournament, I think that's more advanced and not something that, as somebody that's learning kayak fishing, wants to really get in depth. And I'll give you my example. When I started going into learning kayak fishing, I used to watch a lot of the Fluke Master, and I got a little bit into tactical bassing. But it took me a while to get into tactical bassing because I could not understand what they were talking about. They were so technique specific. So to me, it was like, God, it's so complicated. But now that I've learned to kayak fishing tactical bassing is more like, I understand what they're saying now and it works for me now. And I think that's the mindset for everybody out there. If you're listening to the Bass Fishing for Noobs and you're brand new to kayak fishing, that's a great show to start with. Not to say don't listen to Advanced Kayak Anglers with Dan Perry, but you might be overwhelmed when you're talking about the knots and some, using a LiveScope 360. That may not be in your wheel wagon right now.
Yeah.
And
there's a lot bigger, a lot more people who are getting into kayak fishing or who are at the noob level. That's a whole lot more people.
Yeah.
My target audience is much smaller, the hardcore people who are really into it. And so if I'm nowhere near, I'm not tactical bassing, but if that's an example, I'm more of the tactical bassing type show where we get really specific. And Sean is more the Scott Martin Challenge. I love Scott Martin Challenge or Scott Martin Show. And I watch his YouTube channel all the time, and he has the most popular show, and so does Sean. That's the difference.
Yeah. And that's pretty cool. I mean, I remember when I started kayak fishing, one of the first videos, actually when I started fishing, that really get into fishing, not just, with my dad throwing a bamboo stick with a worm in it. We're talking about more like fishing. I'm buying rods, I'm buying reels. I couldn't wrap my head around what's the difference between the action of the rod and the strength of the rod. I had to watch so many videos trying to understand what's the difference between, medium. I mean, I can understand medium light, medium, heavy, and heavy. I can understand. What I cannot understand is, okay, take that and now mix it with slow, fast, extra moderate, extra fast. It did not make any sense to me. It took me a while. And it's one of the simplest things about fishing in general when you're selecting a rod. But I just couldn't understand it. Like, what's the difference? What's the difference between a fast action rod and a heavy rod?
It's the difference between the Sticks Fishing 6 rod and why you want a G Loomis with an extra long butt in, so it sits, so you can keep it against your body whenever you're frog fishing or swim bait fishing, and why you want that certain taper, and why you want stainless guide or a ceramic guide versus a stainless guide. That's I mean, most people don't care. You don't care about that stuff until you get to a level to where you're really trying to really hone in on it, and that's kind of the people that I'm trying to target a little bit more with my show.
The people, the idiots like you and me that go into that rabbit hole way too farther than we should have ever gone, and now we need help.
And then Drew Gregory's using like the same rods and all braid and kicking everybody's butt. Yeah.
Awesome. So we haven't found a slap for you yet, right?
No, I'm just kind of a floater right now. Every now and then there's not a show. Somebody takes a week off or something, and I'm the fill-in. Which it works good for me because my show's every other week, and I try to help out on the other shows whenever I can.
Awesome. Like today. Thank you for filling in, by the way.
Yeah, man. Happy to be here. Thank you for asking me.
Awesome, man. It's always an honor to have you on the podcast.
Yeah.
What's next for Dan Perry?
Well, I have last weekend we did a little family trip on the Black Warrior. It was fun. My son caught a big gar. Well, I caught it for him and then brought it in. This weekend I have off. It's Labor Day, I think, this weekend.
This weekend?
Okay. I don't know.
Next week. Oh, yeah. Next Monday, right?
Yeah. We're staying at my mother-in-law's. She's going to Missouri to see family, and we're staying at her house with a pool on the lake. So excited about that. Going to chill out. That's it. And then the week after that, I'm going to, if we win this weekend, I'll go to Lake Fairfield in Texas. So go fish KFL. Unfortunately, that same week, the only tournament that we've had that has overlapped a national tournament is the Hobie on Pickwick. So I'm disappointed in that one because that's my favorite lake, but it is what it is. And then the week after that, Lord willing, we'd if we win these next 2 weeks, we would go to the championship on Chickamauga. So.
Oh man, good luck with that. We're rooting for you.
Got to make it through 2 tough teams. So, fingers crossed.
We're rooting for you. I love my Texas peeps, though. No offense, but PNF family. Got to support the PNF family.
Hey, they're good. They're going to be hard to beat.
Yeah, they're a nice group of guys over there.
I'm excited and looking forward to it. It's my type fishing, grass and deep.
Yeah.
I don't like the in between stuff. Grass and deep. That's my jam. And Fairfield's grass and deep. So
Fairfield is a great lake. You can ask Dustin about that. Dustin loves that lake, so it's gonna be fun. You're gonna have a good time.
Yeah, man.
And maybe we'll see you when you come to Texas.
Yeah, well, let's hang out, man. Come on,
definitely. Get you a couple of beers, and we all set.
Yeah, going to get some at Killian's on draft.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
I'm stationed in Texas for 3 years, and that was my jam.
Yeah, Killian's Red, man. That's a good beer.
Yeah, can't get it.
Underrated.
You can get it in draft around and bottles around here, but you can't get it in draft. And it's so much better on draft.
It is a very good beer.
Yeah.
All right, Dan, I've had you for 45 minutes, and I know you're filling in. You got to be tired, so I really appreciate you taking the time to join me and helping me out with the podcast. I'll give you a few minutes to thank everybody you want to thank, sponsors, family members. Go ahead.
Yeah, my wife is always, she's not going to listen because she's not, but thank you. She's upstairs putting the kid to bed. Yeah, my family, Summerland Outdoors. If you're looking for an Old Town, Hobie, or anything else, they ship anywhere in the country. And Jackson, they have them in stock. Like if you're anywhere and you can't get a kayak, they have Big Water 132s, Old Towns in stock. You can get them. And they sell every rod known to man. I'm not sure if they have Douglas, but they have all the other brands that they will ship right to you. All the brands. Berkeley flatworms, all that hard to find stuff. It's like a unbelievably legit tackle shop. They have it all. Besides that, Yak Gadget, Bioano Power, and Paddle and Fin. So
Perfect,
and
yeah.
Alabama Hammers. Check us out. That's it. And X-Zone Lures. They're all behind me, but I guess everybody can't see that.
It is nice. Excellent lures. I need to try those lures, man. I see Josh posting on it. It look juicy.
Yeah, they're good. They're really well made, no filler, like good baits. Polinick and Jacobson both use it. So yeah, they're. I would say start out with the Ned Zones. It's the Ned rig. It's got like an extra wobble that the fish just can't. They can't stand it. They get in their face.
Kind of like a shaky head.
Yeah, it's just a Ned zone, a Ned bait, but it's.
I've seen that one. Yeah,
like an extra wobble to it. It's really is the deal. And all the tails and on the worms and the craws, they all float. So it's kind of like Z-Man, except not that kind of plastic that you can't get on a hook. I still
it's my love and hate relationship with Z-Man. Yeah.
I use a couple Z-Mans. I still can't get away from a couple of them, but almost everything I use for X-Zone, they're great people and good baits for sure. Like legitimate good baits. Like there's a lot of good baits out there, but I promise X-Zone they really are good.
Well, there you go. X-Zone Lures. If you want to promote my podcast.
Yeah.
Love to have you. Nah, just kidding. But yeah, I'm going to check them out. But Dan, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. We're going to say goodbye to the audience, but stick around. And for those out there listening, once again, Douglas Rod, douglasoutdoors.com. Go check out their rods, LRS, X-Matrix, and the fly fishing rods. This has been the Bass Kayak and Beers. As always, your host Armando. If you're going to be on the water, please wear your PFDs. I know Dan tell you the same thing.
That's right.
So take care, everyone. Have a great day.